Alright. Well, I'm going to move over to my stuff then. I did scroll around to pretty much all your gear so that if somebody was really curious, they would have time to be able to take a look at everything you had. So
Okay.
that's all there. Um, what I'm running, and again, this is generally speaking what we use as co-op. Some of these, again, aren't the best if you're trying to do it yourself. But here, for my main attack, for generating my hatred, I like using the bola shot. Now, I know some people would use instead, whoops, hit the wrong button there. Some people instead would use the entangling shot and bring up bounty hunter. Nope, nope, that one. Justice serve in order to get more hatred, but I generally don't have an issue with hatred. I do okay, and you don't get as much damage out of those, so I don't like it. I enjoy the bola shot with the thunderball rune, and the reason for that is the bola shot's going to do after 2 seconds, going to do 160 weapon damage as it says there, and it is going to do damage to everything around you, now or everything around the target. Which again, Hog is pulling everything in close. So since he's pulling everything in close to him, I'm hitting him with those bolos. They go off, they explode. I have it changed over to lightning damage, and there's a chance, 35% chance to stun it for a second and a half. Well, 35% chance, so 1 in 3 should stun something. I fire pretty fast. When we have a single target we're trying to lock down, I can almost keep it on stun lock, which is actually real handy. So we've been able to use that on bosses and things like that to keep them there. And if something's charging us, whatever, I can lock one down and kind of break it off from the group. So that's handy for us to do. Next
Yeah,
up
that
we
stun
have
lock is amazing. I'm sorry. That
no,
stun
that's all
lock
right.
just really helps me out too, especially on a single target trying to take down a key ward or something.
Yeah.
It's great. It really is.
Next up, sticking with the fact that I like area of effect stuff, rapid fire. This is my main use one. You'll see them arcing through as I fire. I put on the bombardment rune. Now the reason for that is it fires grenades instead of just firing the straight arrows. Now it lowers the damage a little bit from 438% to 414, but realistically that's not a whole lot. And instead of damaging one thing, I'm damaging everything that he has within standing around him, which he's pulled the entire pack in the room to him. So I am now hitting everything, damaging everything. While my DPS might not be as high on a single target, I'm hitting the entire group so we get through it faster. In order to keep my hatred up, I like to bring the companion in, and instead of the raven, which would do a little bit of damage to things, I do the bat, get an extra 3 hatred per second. It's one of those where it's right on teetering on needing it and not needing it. If I had something that gave me a little more hatred, another item or whatnot, I probably could do away with this one. But as much as I like to use the rapid fire, excuse me there, it just keeps me firing a lot longer until the entire room's cleared, especially when we're working up in the higher master levels and things take more damage. Next we have here, this is my, oh shit, Vault lets me get out of trouble. What's handy is you go through things. If you try to do regular evade with your right stick, you get stuck when you roll into an enemy or even a wall, not a wall, but like a rock. You'll just stop. But with Vault, it actually tries to go that entire 35 yards. Now, the rune, that's one where you really could go anywhere here with it. I've gone with this just to shoot the arrows around because, hey, it's a little more damage, and it hit things around the room like the barrels and all that stuff, and that's just gives me a little more experience, breaks the barrels, and helps me find things. The knockback one is actually one I use that one quite frequently. That is one I might go back to. Being able to roll and then knock back and stun things, that's handy when a room gets really confusing and really busy. Because then when you roll away, instead of landing there and having something punch me in the face, I'll knock it back and stun it. So I might change over to that. Right now, though, still, I like action shot. I'll go with it. Next up, we have Caltrops. This is actually pretty common. A lot of people do this. I didn't used to use it, but I've gone to it now that we're controlling rooms a little better. Again, because I can stand still. By putting down the Caltrops, I mean, the slower really isn't useful. It slows them down for, 60%. Yeah, I guess it lets me get away, but I'm usually not worried about anything chasing me because Hog's got everything contained. Instead, I want to use the bait the trap part. That's a 10% critical chance increase. I mean, you can't argue with that. That's just a great skill to have. And last but not least, in active skills, the sentry turret. I used to go here with the spike trap. This is another good one. I want to cover both these real quick. I have used the spike trap with the echoing blast. Now the thing about this is most people, the first thing they use with the spike trap, they drop it and they go, it's right in front of me. How useless is this? I don't want to be standing that close to anything. Well, the echoing blast, what it actually does is it places it underneath the target you have, and then it allows it to explode 3 times. So, boom, waits a second or two, boom, waits a second or two, boom, if something's still there, and you can drop, of course, 3 of them. So you can get 9 explosions out of dropping these 3 different spike traps right under something. That's really handy on single targets. But I've gone over to using the sentry because I had lost the heal I had actually had when I changed some other things around. So when I bring up the sentry and go with the aid station, I'm going to heal everybody for 2% of their maximum life. I'll drop that next to Hog when he's in the middle of some trouble. And how's that worked out for you?
Oh, it's worked out great. Where I used to try to kite guys into your traps that you had on the ground. Now I hog crawl over to Sentry to get that extra life per second. Man, it helps out a
And
ton.
and it's hitting for 175 weapon damage. It actually fires pretty fast, and it can track things. Where the what do you call them there? The spike traps, they have to walk over it again, which Hog was actually pretty good at bringing things to. So I'm actually enjoying this just for the fact that I can heal both of us. That is a lot better for me, so I'm going to stick with that for now. Um, Over here for passives, this is the one that, I mean, pretty much every demon hunter should have. You should have this one. Based on what weapon you're using, it's going to change. It's going to give you different bonuses. It's the archery one. Using a bow, which I currently am, I get 15% increased damage. A crossbow gets 50% critical hit damage, which is why the mana core is so popular. I have not run across a decent mana core yet. I saw one someone offered me, but it was really bad. I just didn't want it. But that's a double gemmable crossbow, and you can get your critical hit damage huge with that with a couple of green gems. So that's great if you happen to have one of those. And then increased critical chance if you're using hand crossbows. Again, good skill. Really, you should have it. It's just pure damage output. Over here to passive 2, maximum hatred increased, and you gain 20 hatred and 2 discipline whenever you're healed by a health globe. Well, since Hog is always standing in the middle of the health globes, because we're blowing all that stuff up around him, it keeps me pretty much running almost non-stop. That's why I might be able to get rid of this companion, but on the occasional chance that we're not getting the health globes like on bosses and whatnot, I like having it so I can keep doing it. I'll probably fiddle with that, but I don't know what else I would take with it. Perhaps Mark of Death, but at the moment I'm going to stick with it. And last but not least, the Perfectionist Skill. Reduces the discipline cost of all the skills. Lets me roll around more. Lets me drop more of those Caltrops to be able to fire off. And the increase in life, armor, and all your resistances by 10%. Basically, that's my defensive passive. That's just awesome to have, and it helps keep you up and running. And as you're, of course, because it's a percentage base, as you get more, as you get higher in the game, that just becomes more effective. Awesome skill to have. And inventory-wise, I'll cover it real quick. I don't really have anything spectacular at the moment. I've had a few good things, and what probably my best 2 things of I've actually gotten some good plan drops. So you see the 7 sins that he was wearing and that I'm wearing. I happen to have found that plan, so he's been giving me mats, and I craft them for him. And then I do have the demon skin plan, so I am wearing a few pieces of that because it's the best I had available. I do have the set piece Natalia's helmet. It's okay. It's not bad. It's pretty good. I do like the set bonus on it. The critical hit chance is nice. So I'd like to find a third one to get that extra bonus 130 dexterity because that'll make up for things being a little low. As I mentioned in a previous thread, I'm running actually amulet that Hog gave me. You can see the stats over there are actually better for a monk. But as you can see, the other ones I'm carrying around that have been the best I've found that I'll use occasionally when I need more defense, I just can't get as much attack with that. So that is better. Got a legendary off quiver there. Don't have any socket in it, unfortunately. I'd like to have one. I just picked up those 2 crossbows over the last 2 days, the hand crossbows, but they haven't been that great a combination yet, so I'm going to keep hanging on to them. Right there's the ring I was talking about, Natalia's, not bad. Got a gem in her, best I had. I did throw in a strength gem in this one for the armor bonus, and because I just didn't have that many green gems laying around. I have not been getting as many gem drops that would be, as many green ones. So it's not helping me out as much. So I threw red in there for bonus armor because that's handy. And Bojanglers I have there from the legendary boots. Very nice. Resist all, attack speed, movement speed. Handy to get around. More demon scale. More demon belt. And then the Cluck Eye as my main weapon. I've actually found 2 of these now. And these have been the best bows I've come across. All the crossbows I've had have just, the legendaries just haven't been good. So that's what I go with. It works well for me. And then one other thing to mention, we touched on it briefly before, and we'll probably make a big video on it, is how the 2 of us end up working so well together. As he mentioned, I found that sword he's using. Well, we're both Dex characters. So when I found it, I checked it, it was Dex. He checked it out, and I went, hey, this is a great sword for you, go ahead and use it. He had this amulet at one point he had found better for him, and he says, hey, this amulet's got a high dexterity, is it something you can use? That holy skill damage, useless for me. Spirit per second, useless for me. But the rest of that stuff, very nice for the attacks. And I think even you might have found these Bojanglers for me. So, and
Yeah,
those have been
yep.
yeah, good. So those have been the best ones that I've found. So it's real handy to use as a duo to work together. So that is him controlling the room and bringing it all together, and my big explosions. As you can see, I can fire those off pretty fast. I like to he brings it all together, and then I make them go boom, and boom goes the dynamite. So I think that pretty much covers what the gear we've been using right now. Of course, as we find better gear, loadouts will change. So always be keeping an eye out for better gear for yourself to use.
Yep, and like we said, guys, if we get some great gear, we will definitely update this and keep you guys posted. A living, breathing document, and we'll just keep updating as we go.
All right. Thanks for everybody for coming out, and let us know what you think. If you have any questions about our gear, heck, even suggestions are fine. Somebody actually brought up that turn to me and said, you should try that with your health as high as it is. That's a better heal from you than the other heal I was using because of the percentage is so good at this point. And I had given up on it earlier, but now a 2% heal is 1,000 some per tick, so it's quite nice.
Thanks for coming out, guys. Make sure you leave a like if you like, a dislike if you don't like, and let us know what you guys think. Make sure you subscribe so you can always be up to date with the current content that we're releasing. Have a great day. Thanks for coming out.